Gokulanandana Gopala, 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 Gokulanandana Gopala, Yadukula Tiraka Gopala, Yadavanandana Gopala, Yadukula Tiraka Gopala, Yadavanandana Gopala, 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 Devakinandana Gopala, 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 Devakinandana Gopala, Renu Vilola Gopala, Vidya Gopala, Gopala, Renu Vilola Gopala, Vidya Gopala, 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 Radhika Vallabha Gopala, 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 Radhika Vallabha Gopala, Navanita Chora Gopala, Nanda Kumara Gopala, Navanita Chora Gopala, Nanda Kumara Gopala, 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 Gokulanandana Gopala, 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 Gokulanandana Gopala, Yadukula Tiraka Gopala, Yadavanandana Gopala, Yadukula Tiraka Gopala, Yadavanandana Gopala, 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 Devakinandana Gopala, 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 Devakinandana Gopala, Renu Vilola Gopala, Vidya Gopala, Gopala, Renu Vilola Gopala, Vidya Gopala, 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 Radhika Vallabha Gopala, 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 Radhika Vallabha Gopala, Avanita Chora Gopala, Nanda Kumara Gopala, Avanita Chora Gopala, Nanda Kumara Gopala, 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 Gokulanandana Gopala, 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 Gokulanandana Kalima, 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 Lakshmi Ma, 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 Lakshmi Ma,
Thank you very much. Wonderful, wonderful bhajans. Om, Om.
Love, love.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavāvahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnāt Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadāya Purnamevāvashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, we are looking at some very important concepts. We are in the heart of the teaching right now, especially in this dialogue, whatever is conveyed. And we have introduced some terms which we will be, taking up in the next few classes. So, just to review that, it's important. The first one, of course, the three orders of reality we have seen, Paramarthika, Vyavaharika, and then Pratibhasika. So the Vyavaharika is, the empirical reality, which, as I mentioned, is a projection of Bhagavan, and by itself it is neither the cause of pain nor the cause of joy. It is what simply is. That is why we say Ishvara is what is. What is Ishvara. And so, and if the person doesn't have a subjective overlay of various ragas and dveshas, it is possible, it is both desirable and possible to do what? To go through this life without being reactive to various situations, people, objects, etc. That is what is the phala, the fruit of Vedanta study, is that na guruna api dukkhena vijalyate. The person is not shaken up even by the biggest of tragedies, biggest of challenges. And that is what is, the importance of Vedanta in our daily lives. This is what the whole thing is. This is the importance, this is the relevance. Otherwise, why to study this? Who is going to, why to memorize and understand all these concepts and all these things in some language with which I'm not familiar? These are the language, and the concepts are just aids to indicate this understanding that needs to happen from, cognitively from within ourselves. The more one exposes to this knowledge, this understanding comes. So the empirical world is actually Satchidananda. It is all Ananda alone. And then what? So then, that leaves Paramarthika. Paramarthika is also Satchidananda. Paramarthika means the absolute reality where there is no afflictions, no second thing other than Atma, I. And that Atma, invested with the creative power to create, to resolve unto itself the creation, and to project the creation, and to sustain the whatever has been projected. That along with that Shakti, the same consciousness, that same, Satchidananda assumes a status, all knowing, all pervasive, almighty status, which we call Bhagavan. And then in relation to the Bhagavan, that same individual consciousness that has entered as though, we have to keep on saying as though, this is the Vedantic thing, you have to always hold your hands like this, So this has as though entered, body, mind, sense complex, this name and form called so and so. And, this consciousness has entered, deha parichinna, deha avachinna iva atma. The atma that is as though conditioned by an individual body, an individual mind, and identifies with that body and identifies with that mind, then what happens? So that body, mind, sense complex, is also atma, is the same as that Ishvara, who is projecting, who is resolving, who is sustaining the entire universe. But because of Atma Ajnanam, at the level of the micro, at the level of the individual, since there is Atma Ajnanam, and whenever there is Atma Ajnanam, what happens? There is a, identification with the finite. And the infinite is lost, cognitively in the process. So the identification with the finite includes the identification with raga dveshas, which are really infinite in a way, because they compete with, Brahman. They seem to be endless, and so there is some kind of a what is that derailment that happens. And so the so-called distance between Bhagavan and the Jiva, Ishvara and the Jiva seems to be, very, very huge and cannot be bridged, so to speak. And why can't it be bridged? Really speaking, there is no distance. But why can't it be bridged if you ask? If the person who is, pining for Bhagavan and singing sad songs, and that's why it's called sat sang in in American Sanskrit. Sat sang means he or she sat and sang sad songs. Darshan kab doge? When will you give me darshan? Don't play hide and seek with me, oh Krishna. How much are you going to make me suffer? What are you doing to me? Why don't you like me? This is what you ask you ask everybody in your life, putra and putri, and then, spouse, jaya, patihi, and friends. And the same thing you ask Bhagavan also. Where are you? Why have you left me? Because of Atma Ajnanam, there is really no distance to be bridged. But Vedanta Shastra is still in whatever circulation, because the distance, even though there is no distance, it is felt. The distance is experienced. So the distance has an experiential reality based on pratibhasika, based on my personal projections that I am not enough and I am as good as this body, mind, sense complex. That is what the distance is. This distance has to be as though distance is as though bridged. This is what we are doing. And so, and to cross this so-called divide, the divide is in the head, really. The divide is in the head. To cross this so-called divide, many things have to happen. The first things that have to happen is to understand that all these entanglements, in the world, which is really samsara personified, samsara to the power 100, where you scratch somebody's back and you hope that they will scratch your back. They never scratch your back, and then you're left with a permanent itch. This is what it is. Then the itch doesn't go. The itch is for moksha. Yeah, it's a moksha itch. That's what it is. The itch is to be free of all these entanglements. The only desire in the heart is to be free of all desires. That's the only desire. But if that is not understood, that desire mutates like a virus and morphs into the desire for various finite objects in the universe. Objects, people, relationships, etc. You can just fill in the blanks. We have been talking about this. And so therefore what happens? So this itch doesn't go. And in order to get this itch attended to, then I say, okay, maybe I should go stand against a tree and go like this. Maybe that's what it is. And then what? The tree also doesn't oblige because it has already shed its bark. And then then I say, okay, maybe I should get some cream. That's one more object. Then you get some cream. Then what happens? This is again karma, action. Hydrocortisone cream you put, and then what happens? Does the itch go? No. In fact, you find out one more thing about your own body you did not know. You're allergic to hydrocortisone. So previously you had itch, now you have itch plus hives. This is called karma phala. You don't like what comes, so again more karma. Then you go and buy some aloe vera, some kind of a soothing liniment, and then so then you have to put that. So for every notion connected to the body, connected to the mind, you have to keep searching for lotions and potions to address these notions. This is what samsara is. So the first step, I'm just reviewing what we have studied so far because it's been quite a lot, especially in the last couple of classes, because it's important to just have this foundation before we move on. So small, brief review, a brief revisitation, not even a revisitation, a summary. So the first step is to understand that the more I am invested in actions, so the more I'm invested in actions, there will be unpleasant reactions. Because you cannot predict. You have an agenda for the world that you may know, but you don't know that the other people that you interact with have not only an agenda for the world, but they have an agenda for you. So the people that comprise your world have an agenda for you, you have an agenda for them, and it's a constant dance. It's a dance. Approach, avoid. Approach, avoid. Some people you approach because you have raga, pravritti, and then nivritti, you avoid. The whole dance is like that. You run behind somebody, they run away to make matters more interesting. That's why in these Bollywood movies, the hero and the heroine are always running behind each other around trees in all these musicals. At least in the olden days. That's how it used to be. I don't know how it is now. So this is what the whole thing is. Whatever you want is out of reach. Whatever you don't want, you get three helpings of, and you have to deal with it. And so it is, the sign. So this is the first step of understanding. The second step is a sign. The second sign of understanding or self growth is to see that action, that action and fulfillment of desire don't really go together. It is not that with the help of actions I can fulfill desire. This is a very big myth. Very, very big myth. Number two. So we have to divorce the desire from the desire to act even. And so divorce the desire from the action. So learn to witness and watch the desires as they come, and and they will leave the mind. प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मनि एव आत्मना तुष्टः. So the one, the Bhagavad Gita says, who is happy being oneself in themselves. So who are these people? They are able to, the ones who are able to, prajahati means, they are able to give up, as the person of knowledge is able to give up the desire even as it arises in the mind. Not after acting to fulfill it, and then, like what is that called? The fox and the something, grapes. The fox and the grapes. The fox jumps. Half the day, the grapes are on the vine, and the fox cannot reach the grapes. And therefore it concludes, oh, who wants those grapes anyway? They must be sour. The fox's understanding is based on, what is it called? Shmashana vairagya. Now, a vairagya that is temporary and not due to inner maturity. The fox's vairagya towards the grapes. The fox has given up the grapes and concluded that they must be sour, because it has a gripe about the grapes. So it has a gripe. That's why it is concluded that this is, and this gripe is a vairagya. The gripe is, I don't want it anyway. This is what a teenager says. I can't get it, I can't have it, I don't want it. Who wanted it? This is human nature. This is the inner child talking. But it is not your true nature. This is not Satchidananda nature. This is an overlay, a superimposition, like we saw over the, some kind of a Vedic garland that Suresvaracharya is talking about. That was made of a stiff material. It looked more like a stick. So in the twilight, it can be mistaken for a stick. So here also, one mistakes the Atma for something that is filled with raga and dvesha. So step 2 is to cut the connection between desire and action. And what is step 3? Step 3 is to understand that, fulfilling desires is not the way to happiness. Because fulfilling the desire means what? You're happy for, maybe even if you're able to fulfill the desire, after great ayasa, effort, you're happy for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, and then after that what? Back to square one. Board game, like the board game. Pun intended. Samsara is a board game, B-O-R-E-D. Yeah. So this is what it is. This is the whole thing. Action, reaction, I don't like it, I like it, I don't like it, I like it. You're just caught in this. So the next step is to say that, I can't be happy. Desire fulfillment is not the cause of happiness. Then what is the cause of happiness? Maybe it is love, and maybe it is something altruistic. So the fourth and the next step is to see that the people around you, that you have gathered, your own personal world of people, are unable to make you happy, are unable to bring out this happiness that you so crave, that you have been craving for lifetimes. But because of some punya, good karma working over time, you have been able to be in contact with this desire, and you have finally been able to unite with this desire. Guru Prapti has taken place. You have found, somebody to learn with. You have found the teachings. And then what? This is not the time to shirk back. This is not the time to go AWOL, absent without leave. MIA, missing in action. This is the time to catch hold, because these kinds of what is that, sandhi? Sandhi means these cusps of where all things fall in place. I have the desire, I have the itch to be free, and then the correct remedy for the itch is presented. I have got the unfoldment of the Upanishad. I am here, and I have to ride the moment. I have to snatch the moment. It may not come again. I have to take the time now. Otherwise what, I have to get off this sorry go round. You cannot call it a merry go round. It's a sorry go round. It's a sorry go round, going round and round and round, action, reaction, this, that. And then the personal world of people that are even so close to me, I'm constantly frustrated by. Why? Because what I love is not them. I love myself in relation to them when they are able to bring out that self which is already pleased. And that at best is accidental. That's not their job. Their job is not to bring out your pleased self. That is your job. You're outsourcing your job. It is your task to understand that there is Atma Ajnanam, there is, problem centered on the self, and it's your job to remedy that. You can't, you can't babysit you cannot leave your inner children to be cared by the significant other. They have their inner children too. Are you going to take care of them? If the answer is no, better not leave it for them. You need to attend to this. You need to take stock of this. It is your job. Nobody else is going to do this for you. You can outsource somebody. You can say, okay, can you please, can you please do this for me? Can you please go shopping for me, and I will pay you $15 an hour. You can do that. That people can do. Can you please, help me, around the house? I need help with cooking, cleaning, whatever. That people will do. But you cannot say, can you please go study with this guru and get moksha for me? Not happening. You cannot do that. So that is the next step, to understand that this is your job. You have to attend to this itch. And the itch is for being free of all irritants. That is what it is. The itch is actually, a reaction to addiction to samsara. And that has to be, that has to be placated by putting oneself, exposing oneself to this Vidya, which is happening in this dialogue. The next step after that, I forgot the numbers, you do the math, The next step after that, maybe number 5 or 6, I forgot. But the next step then, is to see very, very clearly that the finite cannot become infinite, and that the infinite that I seek I already am, and it is not a product to be bought and sold like in the market. It is never away from me, so it has to be discovered. This is the next step. And then so I have to let go of the things that do not belong. I have to let go of them. I have to let go not of the relationships, but of the investment that they are going to help me to do something. And then the relationships, the relationships then drop off the shobhana adhyasa, and the ashobhana adhyasa in the relationships are dropped. Very, very important. because the relationship is not a problem. There is a value added attitude towards the relationship. This person makes me sad, I have to be away. This person makes me happy, I have to have them over all the time. That is what is the problem. That has to be dropped cognitively. And in order to drop that, one has to see the next step is to understand, is to be paramartha abhimukha, is to be oriented only towards the paramarthika. How? By seeing the manifest universe as an extension of Bhagavan, as the projection of Bhagavan. So what you see is not your spouse, is not your child, is not your friend, but you see manifestations of Bhagavan. Anything unpleasant, double manifestation of Bhagavan. Any difficulty, Bhagavan. Any fear, Bhagavan. Anything that you see, Bhagavan. And this is what one has to see. You Ishvarize the entire universe. That is objectivity, that is the highest form of Vairagya. That is when one is almost, gaining this knowledge. That is when one is nearly at, this is 9/10 of the knowledge, is to see everything as Bhagavan. Including all the irritants, all the annoyance, the sources of annoyance are because some raga dvesha is being, interfered with. I'm not getting my way, that's why I'm annoyed. Instead, take a step back and see it as Bhagavan. Okay, it's not meant to be right now. Let me revisit it later. Pray for that karma to be neutralized if that goal is not being achieved. And if prayer, and people keep telling me, oh, prayers are not answered. Prayers are answered. Every prayer is answered. Sometimes the answer is no. Because your karma is coming in the way. Sometimes the answer is not yet. Better luck next time. Not yet. So we don't keep on pushing against the universe. And you see, you take, inspiration from all other life forms that are living peaceably and in harmony with Bhagavan's will for them. You see the dog, the roadside dog, the cat, they just lead their lives. Even the pet dog is better off. Pet cat is better off. It leads its life in keeping with the will of, Shiva and Shakti, the creators of the universe. It leads its life not against the will, because it is programmed. The oak tree doesn't say, I'm sick of being in the forest, I don't like the view. My view is, all these other trees are coming. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to uproot myself and then go to the beach. I want a vacay. It doesn't say that. I'm tired of being in the forest. Neither does some other tree. The avocado tree doesn't say, I want to grow mangoes. I'm going to start growing mangoes. Never happens. So from these are all, like, see, the Lord Dattatreya is said to have had 24 gurus, and each person was a guru. Everything that he met, every person he met was a guru. And then he learnt from the trees, he learnt from the birds, he learnt from every passerby. This is what we have to do. We have to see for once and for all that this whole world is an extension, a manifestation of Bhagavan. So where did your search for Bhagavan go? Where did the sad songs go? Gone, because everything is Bhagavan, everything is Ishvara. And that Ishvara is you, is the last step. That is what is understood, through Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, as we will see in the last, in the rest of the time that we have. So, but this is what has to be, this is the whole step-by-step thing up till now. This is what we have been studying. This is where we are headed. And, the nice thing about the Vārtika is that the Vārtika illustrates all these steps, and it sheds light on the words of the Upanishad. And in this, in this whole procession in mantra number 5, Nava are patyuh kamaya patih priyo bhavati, atmanastu kamaya patih priyo bhavati, to, Nava are sarvasya kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati, atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati, where, Yajnavalkya, in front of Maitreyi, leads a procession of all desired objects and people and negates each one of them, negates their importance in bringing out that inner happiness which is already shining but which is inhibited by by the eclipse of raga dvesha, and by the eclipse of what? One's own one's own atma ajnanam. Raga dvesha, strong preferences and prejudices, are just a manifestation of one's own ajnanam. That is what it is, brood of atma ajnanam. So therefore, therefore what? So the vārtika doesn't repeat. The vārtika is not obsessed with the lokas and, just makes a passing mention of husband, wife, child, etc. And, the vārtika takes it to a deeper level. So we are going to study a few verses from the vārtika. One we have already seen. And there too I introduce two more concepts, adhishthana and aropa. Atma is the adhishthana, and and everything else is what? Aropa. Aropa, asamantat, asamantat ropitam means this is what it is, a superimposition on the I. That I am not good, superimposition upon the I. That I don't have, superimposition upon the I. No matter what I don't have, whatever it is that I don't have is a superimposition. It's not true. That I am subject to sorrow, superimposition upon that I, based on atma ajnanam and based on little knowledge of the atma. Because if we can stretch this rope snake analogy, when is the rope mistaken for a snake? Not at noon. If somebody sees a rope lying with 3 bends in the garden, nobody will mistake it for a snake. Why? Because the light is shining. The sunlight is so bright that you can see it's a rope. And then will somebody mistake, a rope for a snake on Amavasya night, no moon night, no light night? Will you mistake the rope for the snake? No, because you can't see anything. You can't see anything. An unknown rope, in other words, is not the, cause of a superimposition. An unknown adhishthana is not the cause, cannot be the cause of an aropa. Please understand this. And what is the example? An unknown rope you cannot mistake for a snake. Rope is adhishthana, snake is aropa or adhyasa. Same thing. Adhyasa means projection, personal projection. So how do these personal projections connected to the Atma happen? He is talking about in this in verse number 88. So he's saying that an unknown adhishthana cannot be the source of wrong notions or projections. Like an unknown rope. If you see the rope in the middle of a night on a new moon day where there is no lights, let's say you're not in the city, you're in some country farmhouse or some place, and then you don't see, you don't see a thing. You may as well step on the rope, but you will not mistake it for a snake. You don't even see the rope. And then and conversely, a known adhishthana cannot be the source of aropa either. Cannot be the source of adhyasa. Because why? And here is where we stretch the example to see the rope at noon. So see the rope at 12 midnight, 12 a.m., then there is no adhyasa possible, there is no personal projection possible, there is no pratibhasika view of the rope. Because of adhyasa, there is pratibhasika. This is the connection we have to make. Even though two new concepts have been introduced, adhyasa, and adhishthana, or aropa and adhishthana, the adhyasa is the cause of pratibhasika. They are connected. Adhyasa means my own personal projection, my mistaken projections are the cause of, the cause of all kinds of my personal view of the world, my subjectivity. My subjectivity is the result of personal projections. This we have to internalize. So now, going back to the example, a known rope cannot be the cause of a projection, a projected snake. Correct? An unknown rope cannot be the cause of a projected snake. So when do I see the snake? Now, where is the projection? When do I see the snake? That's why the example insists at twilight. There should be some light, but it should not be clearly seen. And so I go, it is twilight, and then I see something, and then, where is the snake? It's not that the snake is hiding in the grass and it jumps and sits on the rope, when I see it. No. Where is the snake? It's in my own head in the form of a dvesha. A universal dvesha. Dvesha includes fear, okay? Dvesha doesn't mean I hate snakes. The hatred is because there is afraid. It will bite me, I will die, all these things are there. And so, it is poisonous. And it is, and it's unpredictable, it is slithery, reptiles are very difficult to love. I don't know how many people keep them as pets, but reptiles are not very easy to love. Dog and cat, no problem. Anything furry, you can hold it, you can do this in it. It seems to respond to you. And the cat will purr and the dog will wag the tail and show signs of affection. And it will show signs that, okay, there is some, there's some interaction happening. But if you keep a crocodile as a pet, it's just a one-way street. You keep feeding it, that's all. And, you just, and you hope you will not become the ahuti for the crocodile. That's all it is. You will not become a final offering for the crocodile. That's all you have to hope. So reptiles are, they are not, they are not, what's the word for it? We don't know the world of reptiles. We don't know how they behave. We don't know how they, act. It's very, there is not some kind of a similarity of the mindset. It's very difficult to see what it is thinking or feeling. And with the snake, it is unpredictable because it doesn't run like you do. It, slithers and very fast. And even a crocodile, you cannot underestimate its speed. Just because it is huge and lying there. Alligator, I had a very, close encounter with an alligator once. I had gone for some conference, and it was in this beautiful estate somewhere in Charleston, South Carolina. And then I had gone there outskirts of Charleston. So I went there, and then there was all this, bodies of water, small ponds were there, and little walking paths. So I went, I had arrived the night before, and the conference was going to start at 9 o'clock. So I thought I'll take a morning walk. There were all these paths. And then there were little bodies of water on each side. And then I'm happily walking, taking my morning walk, and I saw the crocodile, under the surface of one body of water, which was on the left side, and on the right side there was another body of water, small little ponds, and then in the middle walking paths. They had done it very well. And then, I saw it, I saw two eyes, lazy, dead eyes, and it's just there, And then as I was walking, it suddenly decided that it was going to migrate from one pond to another pond, right as I am walking, okay? And then, I only saw the mouth and the two eyes just under the surface. I had no idea how big it was, nothing. And before I knew it, as I'm walking right in front of me, there's a sudden big explosion of the water, and this thing comes out and then darts very quickly to the other side. I had a shower, really. I had another shower that day. I was completely drenched because it displaced so much water. It was huge. The fellow was huge. It just went to the other side and it acted as though nothing had happened. Again, it was lazily just, and it looked at me, and I didn't look back. I said, okay, I'm going to, I'm just going to walk forward. In fact, I had to turn back, go back to my room and change. This is what happened, So like this, the snake becomes a source of fear because we don't know what it's going to do. And snake is the what is that accumulation of dvesha in the head, which causes one to move away, nivritti. So the rope becomes a snake when the rope becomes a snake, becomes again within quotes, the rope becomes a snake when I cannot see it clearly. So the adhisthana is subject to adhyasa or aropa when it is not clearly understood. So now come back to what is adhisthana. I am the adhisthana, I am the basis, I am the foundation, for I am the sitting duck. The Atma is the adhisthana. It is the sitting duck for all kinds of projections, for all kinds of wrong notions. When does that happen? If the Atma were to be completely known, just like the rope at noon, then there is no possibility of adhyasa. Correct? Yes, no possibility. I know I'm Satchidananda, I'll never mistake myself for anything else. What's wrong with you? That's what one would say. And if the Atma were completely unknown, if I didn't know that I existed, then then there is no possibility of any kind of adhyasa either. No possibility at all. But here we have a in-between situation. Atma is known but not completely known. Are you here? Yes, I exist. I don't have to take permission to find out if I exist or not. I don't have to ask the significant other. Do I exist? No. I know I am. But please don't ask. I beg you. Please don't ask the next question. Who are you? What are you? Because then the whole litany of all the adhyasa associated with the Atma come out. I am so and so, this many feet tall, 6 foot tall, means what? I'm as good as the height. So body, dharma and atma are enmeshed. The body, dharma means here attributes. The attributes of the body are projected onto the atma. And then what? And then I'm 6 foot. And then people, go even further. And I am, what do they say? Like they identify, at least in the West, by the color of the hair. I am blonde. I've never understood that. I'm a bunch of yellow hair. Please give me a break. But then people they say like that. I'm blonde. But if you thought that was bad, I am bald is worse. Because you say I'm bald. If you say I'm bald, that means I'm a bunch of non-existent hair. You identify yourself as based on something that doesn't even exist. What a disservice to the source of existence, which is Atma, I. So this is all body dharma being superimposed adhyastha on Atma, I, on the adhisthana, which is the source of the aropa, which is the source of all projections. Then you have mind dharma, the attributes of the mind are adhyastha on the Atma also. Like how, I am restless, I am angry, etc. I am sad. And then what else? The mind dharma, body dharma. Then prana, the dharma, the attributes of the dharma of the prana. The attributes of prana are superimposed upon the Atma, the I, that is free of them. Like what? I am hungry. Hunger is a pranic function. And so I is equal to hungry. And then sometimes the mind and the prana get, simultaneously superimposed upon the Atma, as it were. I am hangry, a new word they have coined, especially the teenagers in America. What does it mean? I am hungry, and because I am hungry, I am angry, so I am hangry. This is what it is. So, see, this is the mind dharma, body dharma. All these things, so the attributes of the senses are also superimposed on the Atma. Badhiroham, I am deaf. Kanoham, I am blind, or I am one-eyed. Aham panguhu, I am a lame person. This is what the whole thing is. This is all wrong attributes. The attributes belonging to the finite are superimposed on the infinite. This is, this is one portion of the adhyasa or the aropa. Adhyasa and aropa, same thing, projection, superimposition as it were. So the attribute of the finite, attributes of the finite body, the finite mind, the finite senses, and the finite objects that surround one, there is a kind of a coalescing of them, because these attributes are, imposed due to, superimposed as it were, due to Atma Ajnanam, due to not knowing the Atma clearly, not seeing the Atma clearly, they are superimposed. Totally superimposed. And then what happens? Nothing happens. That's what the life goes on as usual. One life gone, another life gone in superimposition. But as though that were bad enough, we have another kind of superimposition also happening. Since the Atma, which is Satchidananda Swarupa, is not known, and since there is a craving for this infinite Satchidananda Swarupa, that Satchidananda Swarupa, that infinite, is again superimposed on the finite. So the dharma of the Atma is superimposed on Anatma. Atma dharma is superimposed on anatma. Anatma means what? Jaya, putra, vitta, loka, etc. that we have seen. Husband, wife, children, money, different lokas that one wants to go to. All these things. So there is another kind of superimposition happening. So I want to make them infinite. Even though they are the cause of sorrow, but occasionally they bring the pleased Atma out. So therefore, I want to be infinite, I want them to be forever. How can anything be forever? Especially if it is a product and if it is finite. It cannot be forever. No, but I want it to continue forever and ever and ever. That's why the person even marrying for the 5th time says what? This is forever. What happened to the other 4 times? Don't ask. This time it is forever. So do you want the marriage or do you want the forever? This is what we have to understand. So did you understand the 2 kinds of superimpositions? Atmani anatma adhyasa, anatmani atma adhyasa. 2 kinds of superimpositions. That's why it is so difficult to, conceptualize. How come I got into this place? How come, I'm in this kind of a situation? This is why it is difficult to discern the problem. Once the problem is discerned, it's very easy to see what is happening. But until one discerns the problem, there is, pitfall after pitfall, entanglement after entanglement. Because it's easy to see how the, Atmani, Anatma Adhyasa is there. In the Atma, the Anatma is superimposed, Anatma Dharma. So, like, the body dharma is superimposed upon the Atma, and I mistake myself to be a mortal, I mistake myself to be lame, to be deaf, to be, not having this, not having that, etc. I identify myself by a disease. People say this, I'm a cancer survivor, I'm a cancer patient, all these things. So, you identify solely by the disease, with the, and the Atma which is free of all diseases. So therefore, this is one type of adhyasa. And I'm repeating this because in case you didn't get this the first time, it's important to, internalize this. Then, as though this is not bad enough, there is another kind of adhyasa unfolding simultaneously. And this is all based on the first kind of adhyasa. The first kind of adhyasa is what? I mistake the Atma to be finite. And I have a tīvra ichha, a strong desire for the infinite. So what do? So I try to convert the finite into infinite constantly. And so there are 2 sources of frustration operating in my life. This is the cause of all sorrow, all confusion. Trying to make the finite infinite constantly. And whether though that object, that may be an object, a person, a thing, a relationship, I want to make it infinite. How can you make the finite infinite? It's impossible. And then, not knowing the infinite to be infinite, I mistake it to be the finite. This is the cause of all samsara, all sorrow, and that is what is indicated by verse number 88. So, moving on, verse number 89. सर्वानर्थनिवृत्तिश्च सर्वाह्लादाप्तिरेव च प्रतीचिज्ञानमात्राच्चेत् अन्यत् प्रार्थयते कथम्. Beautiful verse. So he says, now that you have heard all these, dear friends, why on earth would you want anything other than the Atma? If you wanted anything else other than the Atma, it would surprise me, Suresvaracharya says. It would in fact shock me. Because what have I been doing up till now? What has the Upanishad been unfolding up till now? If this much is not understood, then, and even if it's understood and you still want, anatma, there is something very, very wrong with this picture. So why? Because what is the Atma we have to understand. He sums it up. Sarva anartha nivrittischa. So the Atma is the promise. Knowing the Atma for what it is, knowing the Adhisthana as oneself is Sarva Anartha promises, Sarva Anartha Nivritti. Nivritti, freedom from Sarva, all Anartha, all useless, undesirable things. So it's a promise of freedom from the undesirable. And freedom from the undesirable is what one wants. In fact, one wants the desirable, and the only desirable thing we have seen is the self. So the freedom from everything undesirable is promised by knowing the Atma. And not only that, sarva ahlada aptihi evacha. Aptihi, the gain of sarva ahlada. Ahlada means, hlada means, the joy, the endless joy. So it is the knowing the Atma, this knowledge of Vedanta is the source, is the cause of putting to rest all anarthas, all undesirable things happening in one's life, and the gain of endless joy. And how is that possible? And that he explains in the next line. Pratichi means the innermost. So in the innermost, in the knowledge of the innermost Atma, in the knowledge of the innermost, jnana matra chet, only through the knowledge of the innermost Atma, this is what happens. Tad anyat, other than this, prārthayate katham. How dare you? How could you even think? How could you even envisage wanting anything else after knowing this? He seems to be thinking of another sentence in the Bṛhadāraṇyaka-Upaniṣad, which is a very beautiful and a very, wonderful sentence, small, like a pithy sentence. A Mahavakya is also hidden in it. Atmanam ched vijaniyat. Ayam asti iti pūruṣah. Kimicchan kasya kāmāya shariram anusanjvaret. This is the Vakya from the Bṛhadāraṇyaka-Upaniṣad, which he seems to be either having in mind or channeling. Atmanam chet vijaniyat. If one were to know the Atma. This is a hypothetical sentence, not because it is not possible to know the Atma, but it is to show that there are difficulties, there is resistance, there is fear. So therefore, Atmanam chet vijaniyat. If one were to know the Atma as it is completely, then he says, as how ayam asmi, aham asmi iti pūruṣah. This Purusha unfolded by the Shastra, this Purusha means what? This Bhagavan, sarvān pūrayati iti Purushaha, that which completes everything, that which is everything. Aham asmi, I am that Purusha, iti. If one knows the Atma, with complete clarity that I am this Bhagavan, then, kim icchan, desiring what? These are all rhetorical questions. Kasya kāmāya, kim icchan, desiring what? And in order to gain what? Kasya kāmāya, shariram anusanjvaret. So sharira means body. jvara means fever. So the body is subject to all kinds of, some jvara means all kinds of, fevers. The body is subject to affliction. But then Anu is there. Anu sanjvaret means why would such a person go along with the trials and tribulations of the body? Meaning, why would they be identified with the trials and tribulations with the body? Why would they be afflicted if the body is afflicted? They would not be afflicted because their end in life has been fulfilled. They have gained what they really wanted to gain. There is nothing more to gain. There is nothing other than this to gain. So there is no more desire, no more, identification with the body. And why would they desire anything else? It looks like he might be thinking of that, that verse. Moving on. Yasya sambandha यस्य सम्बन्धमाश्रित्य ह्यप्रियोऽपि प्रियायते प्रियोऽप्यप्रियतां याति यस्य सङ्गति कारणात् दृष्ट्वानुभवतस्तत्त्वम् आत्मनात्मा पदार्थयोः दृष्ट्वानुभवतस्तत्त्वम् आत्मानात्मपदार्थयोः उपादित्सा जिहासा च तत्कृतैवानुपाल्यताम्. So yasya sambandham ashritya, having gained the connection to which, having taken refuge in which, and what happens, he indeed apriyaha api priyayate. Beautiful sentence. So taking refuge in which knowledge, that's what we have to see. Taking refuge in which knowledge of the Atma, taking refuge in which self-knowledge, apriyaha api priyayate. Priyayate means priyam iva acharati. So it behaves. What does it behave? The apriyaha, anything that is disagreeable starts to look agreeable. Starts to look agreeable. Nothing is disagreeable. In the wake of which knowledge, even the disagreeable masquerades as agreeable. Meaning what? There is, Ishvara, Sarvatma Bhava is there. Isha Vasyam Idagam Sarvam Drishti is there. Ishvara Drishti is there. I'm having, Sarvatma Bhava. I'm seeing everything as Bhagavan. And then Bhagavan is never disagreeable, and then so therefore what? There is no, there is nothing is disagreeable because everything is acceptable to me because I have accepted what is. What is acceptable. This is how the person is. This is how the thing is. This is how the situation is. This is how the relationship is. So just like you don't try to press a stone and try to extract stone oil, the thing will not happen. So similarly, I stop trying to extract something out of the universe which it cannot give me, which it cannot give at all. You cannot press a stone and say, I'm going to, get some stone not possible. So therefore, priyaha api, apriyaha api priyayate. So that which is disagreeable to you becomes agreeable because you agree with everything. It is how it is. Because why do you disagree? Why is something apriya? Why is something an object of hatred? Because you feel in its absence you can be happier. But really, now that you know that you are the source of happiness itself, then you can accommodate that which used to be disagreeable, which is now just neutral. You find it agreeable even. You don't have a subjectivity. The pratibhasika is gone, in the wake of which knowledge the disagreeable acts as though it is agreeable. You agree with it. Then what? Priyaha api apriyatam yati yasya sangati karanat. And priyaha here means not agreeable. Priyaha here means we have to see where there was some kind of a great tenacious unhealthy dysfunctional connection. So, those areas which were marked by a kind of a dysfunctionality, though that dysfunctionality becomes disagreeable, in the wake of which unconditional love, all the things that were unloved become lovable, and all the things that were loved not for their sake but for my own sake, and I was wanting to get something out of it, that kind of a conditional love drops in the wake of association with which knowledge. Very beautiful. So that is verse number 90. So this is very, very nice, something to contemplate on. Drishtva, having seen, because the two are connected, we have to read them together. Having seen, so yasya sangati karanat, 90, because of association with which knowledge, having seen, drishtva anubhavatah tattvam. So tattvam drishtva, tattvam drishtva means having, seen the truth. How? Through your own experience. Experience of the world and of all the things in the world in the wake of this knowledge. And before and after, before Vedanta how I was, after Vedanta how I am, having seen this and affirmed it through your own experiences, then what? Atma anatma padarthayoho. So with reference to Atma and Anatma. Padartha means the meaning of the words Atma and Anatma. With reference to that, Upaditsa. Upaditsa, Ditsa means Datum Ichha. Aditsa, to receive, the desire to receive. Upaditsa, the desire to accept. Jihasa, the desire to give up. So acceptance and rejection has to be followed in one's life respectively of Atma and Anatma. What do you accept? Anatma. What do you reject? Atma. No. That was a quiz, okay, to make sure whether you were listening or not. So, Atma, you do upaditsa, you receive, you accept. And then you do jihasa, you have jihasa for anatma. You have upaditsa, you have desire to accept atma, you practice acceptance of atma and rejection of anatma. This is homework that Suresvaracharya is giving towards the end of the class. This is what has to be followed. This is what has to be followed. And then, this is your homework. And then further, Nana prakara asangah vishikto yosya bāhyatah yathokta karanāt sarvam pratīchyeva niveshayet. So he sums up this particular section and, he says, Nana prakara asangah. So, no matter what kind of various, sangha means involvements and entanglements have clung to the I, to the Atma, and then Vishiktaha means expelling, the person has expelled them. The one who has expelled all the outside connections, the exterior connections, the exterior objects to which one is connected. This person of knowledge, this person who has heard this dialogue so far, has expelled them. Expelled them, And then, yathokta karanat. Why yathokta karanat? Because of the reasons mentioned up till now. We saw step by step all the reasons why these entanglements are there and why they have to be expelled. Because of the reasons why we have, why they should be expelled, they have expelled. And then once these outside objects and the connection to the outside objects, the addiction. So sangha here means asangaha means addiction. So, the asanga vishiktaha. So the person is, completely free of all involvements. Which is this person? This Atma. So, because this Atma is free of all entanglements with the external objects, with the world of manifest projections, therefore, one has to expel, one has to reject the addiction to these objects and niveshayet, place the only addiction should be placed with the Atma alone. So withdraw the addiction from the objects, just like the person of knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita, kurmongani va sarvashah, you know like the person withdraws the tentacles that are all pointed towards the external objects, withdraws the tentacles, and atmani eva atmana tushtah, the one who is poised towards towards this knowledge. This is what the second part of the homework is, pratichi eva. So in the atma alone, pratichi means in the innermost self alone, niveshayet, may one place the addiction, withdraw the addiction from the exterior objects, and cultivate the addiction for the Atma. More we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadagya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Any questions are there? You can ask. Thank you. Okay. Shubharatri. Good night. Om.